The storm was no longer a distant threat. It was here. The sky had turned an ominous shade of gray, thick clouds rolling in like an unstoppable wave, swallowing the last traces of blue. The wind howled through the dunes, picking up loose grains of sand and whipping them against the rescuers' faces like tiny daggers. The once calm sea had transformed. Waves rose higher, crashing onto the shore with an intensity that sent white foam rushing inland, reaching the stranded whale's tail for the first time. But the water was still not deep enough. Not yet. The rescue team stood firm, their eyes locked onto the massive whale lying before them, a creature meant for the vast, open ocean, now trapped in a battlefield of sand and storm. The clock was against them. The elements were against them, but one thing was clear. They would not abandon this creature. Not now, not when it needed them most. The storm arrived faster than expected, too fast. The air, once merely cold, now carried an electric charge, the prelude to something far worse. Lightning flashed in the distance, illuminating the towering waves that grew larger by the minute. Sand whipped against their faces, making it hard to see, hard to breathe. The wind pulled at their equipment, rattling the metal rescue harnesses, sending tarps flying, nearly toppling the portable water pumps they had set up to keep the whale hydrated. If they didn't secure everything, they could lose their entire setup. The whale remained motionless, its breathing shallow, its massive body shuddering against the force of the wind. The rescue team knew they were running out of time. If they didn't act now, it wouldn't be the storm that killed this whale. It would be its own collapsing body. But there was one problem. The whale wasn't responding. For hours, they had fought to keep it alive, pouring seawater over its thick skin, shielding it from the drying wind. But despite all their efforts, the whale lay still. Its movements were sluggish. The weight of the barnacles, the dehydration, the overwhelming stress had drained its energy. Even if they got it back into the ocean, would it be able to swim? No one spoke the thought aloud, but everyone was thinking it. With the storm worsening by the minute, the team had no choice but to initiate the first attempt to move the whale. They had spent hours setting up a complex system of heavy-duty straps, secured around the whale's massive body, connected to a team of powerful trucks. The plan was simple. Pull the whale inch by inch, closer to the water, where the tide could help lift it. The rescuers took their positions. One deep breath. The lead. Rescuer raised his hand. On my count, 3, 2, 1, pull! Engines roared to life. The straps tightened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, movement. The sand beneath the whale shifted slightly, and then a loud snap. One of the primary straps snapped under pressure, recoiling violently. The sharp crack of the cable echoed over the storm. A rescuer yelled out, stumbling backward, barely dodging the flying metal. The attempt had failed. The whale was too heavy, too weak, and the storm wasn't letting up. For a brief moment, doubt crept in. Was this rescue even possible? Could they really move something so massive, so exhausted in conditions like these? The lead rescuer clenched his jaw, scanning the faces of his team. He knew what they were all thinking. This was becoming impossible. But then, something unexpected happened. The whale moved. Not much, just a twitch. A small, struggling movement from its tail, but it was enough. Enough to show that it was still fighting. And if the whale wasn't giving up, neither were they. The rescuers adjusted their strategy. The first attempt had failed because the whale was too heavy, too exhausted. If they were going to succeed, they needed to reduce resistance. That's when one of the biologists had an idea. The barnacles. They had weighed the whale down for months, making movement even harder. If they could remove even some of them, it might make all the difference. But time was running out. They had to work fast. Using specially designed scrapers, the team began prying the hardened barnacles from the whale's skin. Some came off easily, cracking away like dry rock. Others had fused so deeply into the whale's body that every scrape made it flinch. The team worked in silence, focused on the task. Every barnacle removed meant less weight, less resistance, a better chance of survival. Then, a breakthrough. With a final pull, the lead rescuer freed one of the largest barnacle clusters near the whale's tail. A deep wound was left behind, raw and painful, but lighter. For the first time since the storm began, the whale took a deep, full breath. With no time to waste, the team moved quickly. The second attempt was about to begin. The cables were reset, the straps reinforced, the rescue vehicles positioned. The lead rescuer raised his hand again. On my count, 3, 2, 1, pull! The engines roared to life once more. The straps tightened, and slowly, painfully, the whale began to move. Not much, just a few inches, but it was enough. A second pull, another few inches. The whale let out a deep, exhausted exhale, its body reacting. To the pull, its skin now slick with seawater, and then a massive wave surged onto the beach. For the first time, the water touched the whale's body. The sea had finally reached it. The rescuers braced themselves as the next wave crashed forward, rushing over the whale's body. It was a race against the tide. Would they make it in time? Or was the storm still stronger than their efforts? They had one chance left, one final pull, and if this failed, there would be no more second chances. The storm was reaching its peak. The rescuers had pushed the whale closer to the water. But was it enough? Could they get it back into the ocean? Or was the battle already lost? Find out in Part 4, where the final moment of truth unfolds. Click on the next video now. The Arctic may be unforgiving, but this story proves that even in the harshest places, survival is possible. Want to see another incredible rescue story? Click on the next video now. Watch it before it disappears.